What's up, core nerds? Time to get served. It's your boy Phil, and boy, do I have a 12-month hearing out of DeKalb County for you. This has a little bit of everything us court watchers love. Not to mention the famous Zoom chin cam, which we pretty much get for the entire TPO case. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Of time that you two live together.
About a month.
Ms. Greer,
about a
this
month.
is the time for Ms. James to answer questions. We don't want you to speak yet. You'll have a turn later if there are things we need to clarify with you or ask you, or that you just want to tell us. But right now, it goes in order, and so we start with her. Okay, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that, Ms. James?
Yes, it was about a month.
Okay, from when, like what month?
It was a long time ago. I can't really recall. It's been so long. Can you
Okay.
remember?
Make your best guess for me. Estimate a year that you think this took place.
Around the year. I believe it was around 2017, I believe it was around 2017.
Okay. And it was about a month, and it was at a different location. And so, what led to you filing this protective order?
What led me to filing the protective order is basically the residence or the location that I'm at now. She came over there threatening me and harassing me and trying to get me put out. Hence, that's why she got the TPO put out on me, so she can have me removed from residence.
Okay, why would her TPO remove you from the residence?
Because that's where we were staying at the time.
But what does that have to do with her?
That she came harassing me and threatening me, and it all started around the time after I had gotten my settlement. That's when she started coming over there saying that she wanted to get her house back and etc. That's when she put the TPO out on me.
So, what is your connection? What is each of your connections individually to that location that she would be able to put you out? And the reason I'm asking that question is because if two people are not living together, there's no reason to deal with an eviction.
Okay, may I have my friend speak with you so that way he can explain it better?
No, this is your turn to testify.
Okay,
So
well,
that can be something else, but if that person is with you and they intend to testify, they need to be somewhere else. They should not be listening to your testimony either.
okay. Well, pretty much all in all, she is somewhat like a stepmother to me because she's my friend's mom. And due to that, we was staying there, I want to say, in total, we've been there for about a year. And the first time we were there, it was to help them with the situation that she had went through, because it was a situation to where I believe her ex-boyfriend had burnt her or something like that. So in the process of her being in the hospital or whatever the case may be, me and her son went to the location and we started helping them clean the house up, because they said once she got out the hospital that she wouldn't want to be there anymore. So me and her son stayed there and we spoke with the landlord, and the landlord said that we could stay there until everything gets situated. And a couple of months after that, that's when we gave the landlord his the house key back, and we moved back out. And then another situation occurred to where we had to go back to the residence, and we've been there ever since.
And she has not?
No, sir, she has not been at the location within, I want to say, about a year, yeah, because everything started around May of last year, and we've been there ever since.
So you said she showed up at the house threatening and harassing you. When did she show up at the house?
It was around the first time when I did my first TPO for her. It was around February, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say around February-ish. And basically she came threatening me, saying that she would, if I opened the door, that she would beat my ass, she'd drag me out the house. She even picked up a hammer at one point and threatened me and my friend, saying that she would stab us in the heart with it.
And that happened when, roughly?
I
A few
want to
months
say
ago?
about February, Marchish. Yes, sir.
Okay. And then, okay. And have you seen her since then?
No, the last time I seen her is when she had them serve me my TPO. That was the last time I seen her.
Okay. And you saw her then?
Yes.
And that was probably what, March?
Yes, I want to say towards the middle of March, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So your incident that happened at your house was maybe February. You were served in March, and now we're here in May. All right. I think those are all the questions I have at the moment for you. Give me just a moment here. Miss Greer, I'm sending you a prompt to unmute. You'll have a chance to testify if you so desire, but this is the time to ask questions of this witness. Are there questions you think I should ask Miss James that
Yes,
separate
I
and
do.
apart from your testimony that you think need to be asked?
Yes, I do.
What are your
If
questions?
if I was threatening or they had to feel me, why won't they move out my house? They don't live there.
That's not an appropriate
I
question, Miss
I
Greer.
have the lease to their house.
All right,
If
Miss
you check
Greer, I'm
the
going to
court
stop you
records,
right here. We're not off to a good start. We deal in facts, not arguments. And so the way that this process works, you've heard the facts that she is testified to, that she says that's how things happened. You can ask questions about that or other questions that you think are important, but we are not ready for the portion of the proceeding where you would make statements. So right now, she's saying that you made verbal threats and that you had a hammer. And so, do you have questions about that incident or any other incidents that you wish to ask this witness about? And you can unmute and then you can ask.
well, I want to ask her if she feels threatened by me in any way. Why won't she leave my house?
That's not an
That's
appropriate question because
Why
it's
is it not? I never gave her permission. She has not talked to my landlord. I don't understand how that's not appropriate.
that's
If
a
somebody
disposition.
got me scared,
Miss
why would
Greer,
I
this is
remain?
not going the way that it needs to go.
I don't know what.
I'm trying to go slow and explain the steps to this process. You're complaining about a landlord-tenant matter. You're not the landlord. It sounds like you rented from someone else, and then it sounds like you have not been there for at least I'll say a medium period of time, to be imprecise about it. I don't know how long, but what we're here for today is to answer basically one question. Have there been acts of violence committed that justify the issuance of a protective order? And there are questions within that question that I have to decide based on the facts and the law. Right now, that's all I'm here for. I'm not going to handle property disputes. I'm not going to figure out who's a landlord, who's a tenant, who's a lessee, who's a sublessee, any of that stuff. It's not going to happen because that's not what this hearing is for. This hearing is to determine whether or not there have been acts of violence committed such that the protective order should be extended. And so with that groundwork laid, do you have questions that you think the court needs to ask?
Well,
About
you
her
asking
claims of
me
violence?
all this stuff, but you not asking me in reference to the case. I feel like if you want me to explain to you what she just said, I can. But again, it's not fair. I'm put out my house with my daughter. We ain't got nowhere to go, paying $1,900 a month. And as you see, it's a history where I had a TPO on them. And she talking about
We're going to place you back on mute. This is not how this is going to go. I have explained the process, including the part of the process where you have the opportunity to make statements later. Right now, I need you to take a deep breath, and I need you to try to find enough calm and restraint to listen to instructions when they're given so that you can try to adhere to the procedures of court. I understand that these are powerful emotional situations that you find yourself in. I understand that every party who appears before me has strong feelings. But what can't happen, cannot happen under any circumstances, is that those feelings come bursting out in a way that makes it impossible for us to conduct a hearing. This is a mission. It is a fact-finding expedition where I have to figure out the truth of what happened. And if all you want to do is jump in and just start talking 100 miles an hour about a lease and the property, I'm never going to get those answers. I've got about 10 cases that were served today, and I intend to help everybody that's on this calendar and give them a full and complete hearing. But what that means, what that requires of all 20 of those parties, is that they understand what we're here for and what we're not here for, what this court has to make rulings on and what it doesn't. The issue between you and your landlord and Miss James is not really before this court. What is before this court is the question of whether or not there have been acts of violence or threats of violence that justify extending a protective order. She has given her testimony as to what happened in regards to those incidents of violence. Now, did you have any other witnesses, Miss James, to those to acts such as those that you wish to call as a witness today?
Yes.
And who is that?
His name is Trentavious Greer.
All right. Where is Mr. Greer?
One moment.
Yes. Hello.
All right. Mr. Greer, can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you swear the
Yes.
statements you make to the court will be the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes, sir.
All right. What is your connection to Miss Greer?
Unfortunately, it's my mother.
All right. Were you witness to the incident that happened earlier in the year?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And tell me what happened at that incident.
Basically, I got a call that she had came to the property and she was going basically hysterical. And when I approached, I saw her standing outside of a car. I can't recall who she was with at the moment, but I saw her standing outside of the car. We actually had video footage of her doing it, but we wasn't able to present it at court at that time. And the other incident with the hammer is one of the incidents to where the officers was called.
Okay. Was anybody arrested or charged as part of that incident?
No, because honestly, I don't like seeing people get arrested, so I told them not to.
All right. And did you live at that property with Miss Greer?
No, sir. Actually, what happened was, to make a long story short, she had an incident with her ex-boyfriend. He set her on fire. And she called me over there to help assess the situation. And from that moment on, we was there helping them out with the situation. But she hasn't been there ever since that incident, which was months ago. And she recently reoccurred after Nala got her settlement from her job, which was about
So,
$50,000.
so you and Miss James stayed with her long enough to just be a temporary caretaker and for her to go on to another location.
Actually, we was basically there just to house sit more so.
Oh, so we're doing this now. We're doing testimony via face cam, via Zoom, via chin cam.
House sit more so because she was in a hospital.
Okay, so she wasn't living there with y'all.
No, she was in a hospital.
Okay. All right. And so in the incident where she showed up a month or two ago, or a couple months ago, I guess, what happened then?
Long story short, she found out that my girlfriend ended up getting a settlement. She just knew we had some money. She didn't know exactly how we had it. So I guess she just felt like she could use the law to basically just rob us blind. Because that's pretty much her intentions. She just wanted to basically just rob us blind. She came over there, she had the TPO put out on us. And it went on for weeks. It went on for like a little while before the TPO actually got put out on us. But because I kept coming over there and kept asking her to leave and stuff, she felt like getting a TPO put out on us would basically force us to stay away, which she actually succeeded in her plan, unfortunately, and left. She hasn't been there since.
On a
You can
video
hang that
call.
up right now, Miss Greer. This is
Hey, they saying I can't let you do it. Oh, you near me. Can you pull up on me right quick and come testify?
Miss Greer. This is
Okay, well, I gotta get off
ridiculous.
the phone. Well, okay, Your Honor. They are not
right.
telling you the truth. What
Ma'am.
happened was
Oh
I
my,
was set
Miss
up by
Greer.
you.
This is a perfect example of where we deal with.
Miss Greer, I am trying real hard. This is so frustrating. I'm trying to be very specific with my questions to you and my directions to you. And I don't think there's been a single time that they've been followed. You took a witness. You saw me tell Miss James that if she was going to have her witness testify, she needed to send him somewhere else while she was testifying. And then what you did was call someone up on the phone and put them on speaker so that they could see and hear what was going on. Not appropriate. I ask if you have questions for this witness. And again, I don't even know how many times we're on. It's probably at least 5. You just start going as fast as you can with your side of the story. And at no point have we asked questions about the facts of what's been testified to. I understand that the parties on these cases don't agree. That's why we're having a hearing. But what we need is to go through the fact-finding process together. And that's done by having a party testify and then a party answer questions, and a party testify and a party answer questions. And you're going to have a chance to testify, and you're going to have a chance to ask questions too. And I know it's hard, but this process is designed to allow you to go last, because that's considered a benefit, because they might not present enough information against you to get an order in the first place. So this is a chance for us to ask questions of this witness. And before I turn it back to you, sir, I've sent you a prompt to unmute again.
Yes, sir.
So when she showed up at the house, it sounds like she was saying some things to you and Miss James. What was she saying and doing exactly?
She was just basically saying that she wanted her to come out of the house so she can WHA. I don't want to say it. Like whip
You
her.
swore to tell the truth, so I just need you to say it.
Okay, whip her ass.
All right, fair enough. And part of that, I mean, I can smile when I say that. I understand people who want to show a certain amount of decorum or be restrained about that. But there's always a risk that somebody says something coded or changed in a way that somebody misunderstands, and I don't ever want to take that chance. And so, but I do appreciate, the deference there to the setting. So, okay, so Miss Greer, his statement is that you showed up and said that you wanted to whip Miss James's ass a few months ago. Do you have questions about that incident that you want to ask him about to see if he will testify to those while he's here?
Yes, I mean, I need to get more of a clarification. So I can't talk about the living process, period. So I
About
need to ask
the living process.
when do I give a statement to you? Because that's the only way I'm gonna get any word out look like. Because that's all I
As
got.
I just said,
all I have is the truth. I don't have questions about lies. I have the truth. That's it. I don't know how to lie about this
do
situation.
you notice how you just rattled off about 5 sentences? You asked a question, and before I could give you an answer, you rattled off about 5 more sentences pleading about the situation that's going
Because I
on.
feel like you're not being fair to me, Your Honor. Other than that, I'm upset
Right.
because this stuff,
Miss
it's
Greer,
like,
you haven't heard a word I've said all day.
I
And
have
that's
been
not about
listening to
being
you.
fair. But the part that I know, I need you to listen very carefully to me. And it's hard for me because all I can see is about the bottom 1.5 inches of your face. There should be a tiny version of your face on the screen somewhere that should show you how much is in. Now, what worries me about how this is going, for one thing, you're on mute and you're continuing to talk while I'm talking. And part of the problem here is that I'm trying to tell you things to explain this process and what's going on, and you're not understanding any of them because you can't slow down enough to listen. So, literally seconds ago, I acknowledged that you have to go last. That is how this process is designed. And one of the reasons it's that way is because it is Miss James's burden of proof. You have no burden of proof whatsoever. She does. So she has to go first because she has to meet her burden if her case was going to prevail. You have to go last. When witnesses testify, the opportunity is to ask them questions before you testify so that they can clarify things that they've said or reveal additional facts to the court. So what they are saying, I understand you don't agree with. But the issue, as it relates to me being able to conduct this hearing, is that when I ask you simple questions, or when you ask a question of me and I try to respond, what happens is that I get talked over. You are wound up as tight as you can possibly be to such a point that even when I explained a few minutes ago that you were going last, you didn't hear a word of it. And I know that because of how you responded the next time you started talking. And so what I need, and this is why I try to be as patient as possible and go slowly through what the process is and what it looks like. I understand why people in your position as a respondent feel unheard and uncomfortable early in the proceeding because it's not your turn yet. I'm not supposed to hear you yet. And so I'm supposed to hear you last. And so when it's not your turn yet, you just have to wait. Now, if everybody agreed as to what happened, there probably would have been a consent order. But right now we don't have that. And so all right. So give me a moment. I have to pull the documents back up and Ms. James, you'll direct questions toward you. And if I have a further situation where I need to give you the floor for you to make a statement, then I will do so. But I have some procedural questions that I need to address first. Tell me about the living situation between you and Miss James specifically as to when you did or did not live together.
Okay, originally, years ago, they had to stay with me because they was sleeping in their car. They were with me about a month. They tried to take over my place there, so that didn't work out.
So they stayed with you about a month, some
Yeah.
number of years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Did Miss
I
James?
think it was the year my son went to the military, my baby son. I think it was like 2018.
Okay, so we'll say about 5 years ago, because that'll
Yeah.
give us some cushion
Yeah.
either direction. So they
Yeah.
stayed with you for about a month, wherever you were living at that time. Was that down off of Boulder Crest?
Yes.
Okay, so they stayed with you about a month. Did Miss James get mail there?
I'm sorry.
Was Miss James like getting mail there?
No.
Was she
She
getting
She
to the
never
best
got
of your
mail at my house.
okay, to the best of your knowledge, did she ever have that Boulder Crest area address on a driver's license or vehicle
No,
registrations,
sir.
anything like that?
No, sir.
So they stayed with you about a month. Where did they go then?
I have no idea. It wasn't my concern.
Okay, but they moved, they were there. Did they have, what was your living situation as far as bedrooms and such?
I had 4 bedrooms. I had 5 children. My other 4 kids stayed with me.
So where did they stay while they were in your house? Like what part of the house?
Where did they stay when? I'm sorry.
Like what part of the house of the residence did they stay in?
I had 4 bedrooms.
So you had one to offer them for that month.
Yes, they had a bedroom.
Okay. All right. Give me one moment because I'm about to sneeze and I don't want to have y'all listen to that. All right. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I thought I did. All right. So, when was the last time that you saw Miss James?
I saw her the day that the sheriff department served her my TPO.
All right. When was the last time you saw Miss James that wasn't about a TPO?
It was about 4 months ago.
Okay. So earlier in the year, maybe about
And
February.
can I clarify one thing?
All right.
That is not her friend. That's my son.
Well, I
And
know y'all got the same last name.
And he had, and that baby that been on camera, that's our grandbaby, my grandbaby. So I ain't never been no stepmom to her. I don't even know that girl at all. I don't know what she get that idea. I don't know her.
All right. Well,
And I need to get one more thing clarified. I never allowed them to live in my house. And my son stated that I called from the hospital. Your Honor, I was in a coma for 21 days. I never called him. When I woke up, my other kids told me he had been at my house, removed evidence to help the person that did this to me get convicted. He threw away the burned mattress, which was evidence. I never asked him. Why would I ask him to do that?
now
Nobody.
let me jump in real quick because timelines are always helpful to me, and I'm sorry to interrupt. Approximately when did he do this to you?
In May of last year.
Okay, so about a
May
year ago.
26th will be 1 year.
Okay. And
And
so
you can see the evidence where I was burned 70% of my body.
I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. That is
Thank you.
terrifying.
I wish everybody felt sorry for me.
Well, so you're saying you did not return to live in the residence, is that correct?
I did return after the fact, but when I first got out of the hospital, I had to have a caretaker. My daughter, which lived off Redan Road in Decatur, I went to her house for some months. My son, who you just spoke with, say he needed something from my house. I gave him my key. He went and never returned my key. I was not aware that they had started living in my house because they've been homeless for quite some time, years. And I wasn't aware of that. He had started living in the house. So when my daughter, me and my baby girl, who lived in the house with me prior to this happening, went back to the house, that's when we realized they had been living there. And that's when all this stuff started. He started trying to lock me out, threatening me with a gun. That's why I had to obtain TPOs myself. I was knocking on the door one day, real hard, like da da da, the glass board. He came to the door with a gun pointed in my face. He has charges for sex trafficking and all that. He can't purchase a gun. She went and purchased that gun for him. Nolly Jane. My son is not even supposed to have a gun. He threatened me with the gun. That's why I got the TPOs. He told her, I'm giving you permission to whoop my mama ass. And in this order that I'm here for today, I read that she said that I hit my grandbaby head. I would never put my hand on my grandchildren, especially about grown folk mess. I don't do that. And that never happened. I have never asked them to live there. They're not supposed to be there. And when they talk about my landlord, They have not talked to that lady. If you check the court records, you'll see that the landlord went and did the eviction on a John Doe, which is them. And she was talking about them. I can give you the landlord number, and you can call her and ask her. The police has called her from the house. She sent the police a copy of the lease that they not supposed to be there. So I've
Right.
never threatened them folks in any kind of way, except that I was gonna get them out their house. Other than that, physical harm, I hurt my grandbaby. I'm trying to get custody of that baby because they ain't got nowhere they sleeping in cars and stuff. So that's a lie. That's a whole lie. And my daughter, which lived with me, she started a job training on her job yesterday, so she couldn't be here today for this hearing. But if you need a reset part to be here, we can make that happen. But there's no truth in nothing they saying. It's all. That's why I was so upset and emotional early, and I apologize.
Well,
But
I know
it
it's
hurtful
hard.
when your own child put you through this after you don't survive a fire. I was set on fire like a bonfire, and I have to go through this to have me and my daughter somewhere. It's not right.
Well, let me
I'm
pause
hurt.
you for a
I'm
second there.
disappointed and I'm hurt.
I want to see if Miss James has questions that she believes should be asked right now.
Yes, be like, how did you?
Yes, I want to ask, how did they get in contact with us
Who's
if
they?
if they never, how do you put it? If they never, I was going to say, if we weren't staying there at the location, how did they, I was going to
Who
say,
is
if
they?
we weren't staying, like her and his siblings and how, like the family members, how would they be able to get in contact with us to let us know what happened if we weren't stable or had a living place?
At
By
what point?
calling
When
the
she was
phone
hurt
number.
a year ago?
Say that one more
Calling
time.
her.
Hang on, Miss Greer. I got to understand the question so that I can understand the answer. So, Miss James, are you asking about when she was burned?
Yes.
Okay, so Miss James, when you had that incident a year ago, how were you able to get in touch with Miss James and your son?
I'm assuming that I have 5 kids, Jonna. My other kids might have reached out and let him know what happened to their
So
mama.
let me stop you there. It sounds like your answer is someone else did it and you don't know how. Is that right?
Yeah, I didn't do it. I was in a coma. I
All right.
passed
So
out,
let me
Jonna.
stop.
When I
Okay.
got to the ER, I passed out and I was out for 21 days. I can show you pictures where I was in a coma.
That's not what we're here for.
Okay. Well, I was in a coma. I couldn't talk to nobody.
Miss Greer, there's an old saying that is loosely related to what we're dealing with here. And sometimes someone will say, when you made the sale, stop selling. I'm going to tell you something slightly different. When you've answered the question, stop answering. Because we're not here to hash out all the details of that. We just want that base level expectation and understanding.
Okay.
And the answer to that question could have been 3 words. I don't know. Or it could have been 3 words followed by 5 more. I don't know. I was in a coma. And that would have been a perfectly complete answer. And
Okay,
so,
well,
so just focus on the answer first. And if there are follow-up questions I need, then just give me the space to ask them if I need them.
Okay, well, I just be quiet. I just be quiet and let
Miss
her
James, do you have any other questions for this witness?
Yes. Yes, I do, but mostly I just want to know if possible, can she just stop trying to get us falsely, stop using false allegations to try to get us arrested and stop robbing us blindly.
All right. Well, it sounds like the evidence is closed. So here's what I can tell everybody. The situation, some of the situations here that are being discussed are civil. If somebody damages somebody else's property, if somebody destroys somebody else's property or makes it disappear, that's a question for civil courts that are different than this court. With respect to the property, that's a whole complicated question. I don't have a landlord here. I don't know the landlord's feelings about this situation. It sounds like Miss Greer has not been there for quite some time. So all very complicated. Also not for me to resolve today. If the landlord wants them out, the landlord needs to pursue the eviction and pursue it to completion until that process is done. If they want Miss Greer back, they can allow Miss Greer back, or if there's something else to be done, then that's for them to pursue through a different part of the court system. But the questions that I have to answer today are as follows. Do I have jurisdiction over this case? Yes, I do. Is there a family violence relationship between the parties? And have acts of family violence been committed between the parties? There are a number of assumptions. I don't want to say assumptions. There are a number of elements that are baked into those two questions about what it means to reside with someone or not reside with someone, and what it means to commit an act of violence. Because what it requires is that somebody be the predominant aggressor, and that's defined by a number of different things that are evaluated on the totality of the circumstances. My answer is no, and that even if the claims that were levied against the petitioner were proven true, they would be insufficient for a family violence protective order to issue. And so what I'm going to do is deny and dismiss the one that is here before us today. What this means is that there's not a protective order in place that I know of against any of the three people that have testified in this case. None of you seem to want anything to do with the other. This all seems to be a very negative situation. Well, not none of you. Miss Greer seems to want nothing to do with her son or Miss James. Miss James and Mr. Greer seem to want nothing to do with Miss Greer. And so what you're left with is an opportunity to go forth in the world, knowing each of your preferences about the other, and to behave accordingly. Understanding that people will be upset, they will get their feelings hurt, they will be prone to call the police and start trouble. Whatever the issues with the physical property are, they need to be handled through the landlord, not with each other. If the landlord, at this point, that's been going on so long, that it'll be on them to sort it out with one of you or all of you. With respect to each other, it's hard to think of a reason that y'all would need to be in contact to the extent that you're already living apart even before this order was issued and granted at the ex parte phase. Ms. Greer, you have a few other kids who I hope you can rely on to provide a little bit more support than the nature of the relationship that's here right now. But I understand that can be challenging even in the best of times. And so what's going to happen is that probably in the next 24 hours or so, this will be processed. And what I will tell you is that if there are any court matters pending, whether it's a dispossessory against one of you or all of you, those can always be discussed privately with the landlord and then otherwise handled in open court. Any other issues of property, they're either part of a lawsuit or they're not. But they need to be hashed out in that way and only in that way, because none of you seem to be comfortable having contact with the other, and none of you seem to welcome that opportunity. And I don't think it's constructive based on the way that things have gone today. And so if there are issues that need to be handled that way, then we'll do that. But in the meantime, as it relates to the protective order, it will be closed out. So we're going to place all parties back in the waiting room. You'll be free to log off from there.
I'm sure this judge loves his job, but like any other career, there's just sometimes you get so frustrated to where you just want to disconnect. And I'm sure this was a TPO. He just wanted to disconnect. I'm your boy Phil. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, set your notifications so you never miss a 12-month TPO hearing. And don't forget, you've been served.